Historical events from the Dark Age to the Renaissance. Brief. The historical events that occurred in the annals of history from the Dark Age to the Age of the Renaissance hold the highest significance for today's viewers, as most of our audience are probably unaware of them. The period of the Dark Ages spanned 900 years from the 5th to the 14th centuries. This timeline falls between the collapse of the Roman Empire and the institutionalization of the Renaissance. It has been called the Dark Ages because many suggest that this period saw little scientific and cultural advancement. The Renaissance was a progressive period wherein European cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth took place in the aftermath of the Middle Ages. The Renaissance period is described by erudite historians to have begun from the 14th century, finishing in the 17th century. During this period, we saw the promotion of classical philosophy, literature, and art. This video will tell you about the key historical facts and events that unfolded from the Dark Age to the Renaissance. By and large, there were more than 50 most important historical events during this period, but here we dwell upon the paramount, essential events of this period that are often ignored. Therefore, stay tuned with us to find out more. Detail: Gregory the Great becomes Pope. 590 AD, Gregorius Anicius was elected Pope in Rome and took the regal name of Gregory. His rule lasted from 590 till 604 AD. He undertook a number of measures that strengthened the role of the papacy and spread the Christian religion. He is known as the Saint, who instigated the first recorded large-scale mission from Rome, the Gregorian Mission, to convert the then largely pagan Anglo-Saxons to Christianity. He was born into a political family, but he preferred saintly rather than the political life, using the family wealth for the welfare of the underprivileged. He guided his people through internal problems, including floods, starvation, and plague, as well as external problems, combating the invading armies of Germanic Lombards and territorial advancements from the Byzantine Empire. The Tang Dynasty is founded, 618 AD. Another event was the beginning of the Tang Dynasty in China. Li Yuan led the rebellion against the Sui Dynasty in China and became the first emperor of the Tang. His descendants ruled China for nearly 300 years, a golden age that was noted for its prosperity, stability, and a high point in Chinese civilization. His dynastic rule is marked by strong and benevolent ruling, successful diplomatic relationships, economic expansion, and a cultural efflorescence of cosmopolitanism. Owing to these attributes, his policies and his actions, Tang Dynasty China gradually emerged as one of the greatest empires of the Dark Ages period. The birth of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the birth of Islam, 570 AD. Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born in the Arabian city of Mecca in 570 AD. He was the paramount prophet of the religion of Islam and received the revelation of the Holy Quran at the age of 40. At that time, while the Arabian Peninsula and the entire world was living in the Dark Ages, he guided his people through sacred revelation of the verses of the Holy Quran and revolutionized the known world. He was upright, true to his promise, peaceful, democratic, and the greatest humanitarian. He forbade bloodshed, feuds, and factions, and united his people into a single whole. Those leaders who violated the terms and conditions of the agreements of peace, discarded and disowned the true revelation and the right path, were contested, defeated. Throughout the Middle East, the people who initially ignored him or were under the cruel rule of dictatorships were won over. He turned people to Islam, and the religion under his capable leadership, impeccable and matchless qualities and attributes of heart and mind, and his universally accepted authority expanded in a very short period of time. He forgave his enemies, and even the Kabshi, who had pulled out the liver of his uncle and publicly chewed it. Abu Sufyan, when he was not Muslim, was his fierce enemy, and when Mecca was conquered, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, declared that those who wanted to seek shelter in the house of Abu Sufyan would be forgiven. He was forced to leave his birth city of Mecca just because he did not want to cause any bloodshed. He led 100 successful expeditions and successfully participated in 27 Ghazwat, holy wars, against the impotent leaders, wrongdoers, and breakers of peace deals. He lit and illuminated the dark world with the torch of Islam and left this world for good at the age of 63 on June 8, 632. He was followed by the righteous caliphs, such as Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with him, Hazrat Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, Hazrat Usman Ghani, may Allah be pleased with him, and Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him. The total period of the righteous caliphs lasted for 30 years. Islamic conquest of Persia, 651 AD. The Sasanian or Sassanid Empire collapsed after around 20 years, allowing the Islamic Caliphate to take control of most of its territory. This is one of the most important events in the expansion of Islam in this period. During the Rashidun Caliphate from 633 to 654 AD, this period witnessed the fall of Iran that subsequently put an end to the fall of the Sassanid Empire, as well as the eventual decline of the Zoroastrian religion. Buddhism becomes the state religion of China 691 AD. During the year 691 AD, Buddhism became the official religion of the Chinese people, after which Buddhism became a huge intellectual force across the country. The people belonging to the peasant classes adopted it. Later on, under the Sui dynasty, Buddhism spread throughout the population so much that it became the state religion. This faith held strong influence on the people of China in this period, and even now in the present day. Buddha's teachings became the foundation for what would develop into Buddhism. Earlier on, Ashoka, an Indian empire of the Maurya dynasty, had designated Buddhism as the state religion. Siege of Constantinople, 717 AD. This siege is regarded as one of the significant events in the history of the Dark Ages. It took a year for the Umayyad Caliphate to siege the capital city of the Byzantine Empire. However, the city held firm. This siege only ended when the Muslim troops themselves put an end to this siege. It is regarded as one of the paramount moments in the history of conflicts in the Middle Eastern region. This siege introduced significant challenges and setbacks in the Muslim world. Abbasid Revolution, 747 to 750 AD. This revolution defined the ideological and political boundaries of the time. The Umayyad Caliphate was eventually overthrown, giving rise to the Abbasid dynasty. During this rule, one of the most prominent events was the shift of the capital of the Muslim world to the city of Baghdad, which became the center of Islamic activities and events. The revolution led to the enfranchisement of non-Arab people who had converted to Islam, granting them social and spiritual equality with Arabs. With social restrictions removed, Islam changed from an Arab-ethnic empire to a universal world religion. Between 750 and 833 AD, the Abbasids raised the prestige and power of the empire. The promotion and progress of industrial commerce, arts and crafts, science and technology occurred, particularly during the reign of Al-Mansur, who is especially known for the great advances in the Muslim world, culminating in the Islamic Golden Age. Rurik Dynasty in Russia, 862 AD. A Varangian chieftain named Rurik rose to political power in Russia and established a dynastic rule that was sustained till the 17th century. This rule was known for a noble governance lineage, founded by the Varangian prince Rurik. However, gradually and eventually, this noble lineage of leadership became weak, and troubled days began. Political problems and crises followed, and the fall of the dynasty occurred. This dynasty was later on replaced as rulers of Russia by the Romanov dynasty in 1613. First military use of gunpowder, 919 AD. The Battle of Langshanjiang was a naval conflict where gunpowder was used as a flamethrower and proved very effective. It would mark the advent of this technology in warfare. Despite the name, the Dark Ages certainly witnessed military advancement. The world for this entire period was a hotbed of conflicts, clashes, wars, and skirmishes amongst both the powerful and weak states. Gunpowder revolutionized the rate of killing troops and only added pain, misery, and mayhem to history. Foundation of Cairo, 969 AD. The Fatimids established a new city, Al-Qira, Cairo, which went on to become the capital of Egypt. By the 14th century, it is one of the largest cities in the world. The Fatimid Caliphate was a political and religious dynasty that dominated an empire in North Africa and subsequently in the Middle East from 909 to 1171 AD. This dynasty successfully ousted the Abbasid caliphs as leaders of the Islamic world. This dynasty was an Ismaili Shia caliphate from the 10th to the 12th centuries AD. It ruled a huge area of North Africa ranging from the Atlantic Ocean in the west to the Red Sea in the east. Art, architecture, craft, culture, tradition, and civilization flourished due to this city. The Crusades, 1095 AD. The Crusades were fought as a series of wars. The First Crusade began in 1095 AD, when Pope Urban II vehemently ordered Christians to crusade against Muslims in the form of military expeditions to support the Byzantine Empire against the Seljuk Turks. After 4 years, these crusades led to the forceful capture of the holy city of Jerusalem. They succeeded in a series of crusades. The military efforts behind these were to capture both Jerusalem and the Near East. The Latin Church lent full support to these wars in the Dark and Middle Ages periods. In conclusion, there were a plethora of major historical events from the Dark Age to the Renaissance, in addition to the stated ones, such as when Genghis Khan united the Mongol tribes and building the Mongol Empire, the Magna Carta that illuminated the world of Western democracy, the siege and fall of Baghdad in 1258, the 100 Years' War beginning in 1337, the Great Famine, the Black Death, so on and so forth. However, the Dark Ages had to leave room and space to the Renaissance period, when progress and development in almost every walk of life was made in leaps and bounds. Hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. You can also follow us on our official Facebook page and Instagram for keeping up to date on the latest and freshest news on world events. So please follow and subscribe.